Norse mythology has an interesting problem with death and the afterlife. Not that they had any great issues with it themselves, Vikings do what Vikings do best after all, but how we have come to see it 1,000 years into the future. The problem can, as is the case with much of lost history, be traced back to Christianity. Christian writers like Snorri Sturluson, who gave us the Prose Edda, had a tendency to change things. Why? Maybe to make them more palatable to Christian ears, to make them make more sense to them, to make sure that the worship of the flying spaghetti monster came about. You can choose your reasons. But nowhere is that problem more noticeable than when it comes to the afterlife. What we have is, quite frankly, wrong. People who know what they're doing, i.e. not me, are piecing together what they can from fragments. So I'll distill a century's work into a snippet that takes 5 minutes or less. I'm told that nothing encourages these great intellects more than completely butchering their work to make a silly YouTube video. I will be skimming over some bits, like the soul being divided, or the undead, as I intend to cover those in a later video. Let's put 5 minutes on the clock. The Norse believed that everyone's soul was divided into 4 parts: the hamir, physical appearance, or the reason you look like you've been hit by a truck. This can and will change, especially if you get hit by a truck. Hugur, your character, or why people don't like you. Fylgja, your spirit totem, probably a skunk. Haminja, luck, usually with regards to success and lineage. Each of these parts are treated differently. For instance, it is possible that your luck could be reincarnated in a newborn relative when you died, the poor bugger, whilst your Hugur is what moves on to the Norse afterlife, but we'll be addressing those aspects in another video. What happens to your Hugur afterwards is what is interesting though. I know modern media has you going to Valhalla if you died in battle, and hell otherwise, but has Disney put Chris Hemsworth in a wedding dress to get Mjolnir back from the Frost Giants? They should. One thing they do have right though is that the slain is selected by the Valkyries and taken on to the afterlife. Though in early Norse myth they may have been responsible for selecting who dies by knitting a warrior's fate in entrails. Be grateful your mother only knitted you a scarf. However, this is where things get confusing. They would definitely take at least half of those off to Valhalla, the Hall of the Fallen, for an afterlife of fighting and boozing before a big old punch up at Ragnarok. But it may be that half of them get taken to Freyja's Folkvang. This is written by Grimmisnal, but it could have been the later edition, an old version of DLC if you like. Freyja's role as Keeper of the Dead is mostly lost to us because we couldn't afford the Remember Things DLC pack. Whether Folkvang is full DLC or just patched into Valhalla as an additional haul is open to question. I refer you to the Frigg/Freyja video by Dr. Jackson Crawford to reference someone who knows what the bloody hell he is talking about. Which is again, not me. We see in other myths that those who died a noble death could end up there, rather than it needing to be in war, so those Darwin Award winners still have a chance. The word Folkvang can be translated as army field, and it is possible that taking half the warriors was to give the Vanir an army at Ragnarok, as Freyja was originally Vanir, but we don't know anything about the Vanir's role in the last battle, so most of this is guesswork. Personally, I guess that the Vanir heard about Ragnarok and decided that if the world is going to end, they may as well go for a curry. Where is Valhalla? Again, we don't know. We have seen it said in myths that it is in Asgard, but we've also seen it placed in Hell. A theory I find more likely, as putting it in Asgard reeks a bit too much of Christian writers wanting these warriors to be easily slotted into the in heaven category, though I have strong doubts as to the daily warfare and drinking of Valhalla being a regular occurrence in a Christian heaven. If it is, those priests have been hiding the good stuff from us. As we've touched on Hell, let's take a look at it. It's underground, it's called Hell, so a place of fire, brimstone and torment, right? No, not at all. For the Norse, Hell was a place with no moral connotations. You weren't condemned to go there. The good went there, as well as the bad. Balder, the good god, was sent there after he was slain by a stray Christmas decoration. They had a feast and welcomed him as a guest of honour, hopefully without any Christmas decorations. That would have just been in bad taste. In fact, the afterlife continued in Hell much the same way that life had on Midgard. Aside from you being living impaired, you still worked farms, still ate, drank, fought and caused trouble. Not sure if there are any Christian monasteries you could plunder though. The leader of Hell, also called Hel, was one of Loki's daughters. She even had names for her cutlery and plates. How can a place be evil if plates have names? Okay, they weren't good names, but the point stands. So we have 3 places, none of which are quite what modern depictions tell us they are. Is that it? Well, no. There was also the realm of Ran. Ran was the goddess of waves and a giant. See the creation myth video as to why these categories don't mean much. Ruling over the waters with her husband Aegir. She was well known for taking a fancy to mortals, grabbing them in her nets and drowning them, then dragging them down to live with her under the sea. They were sea-focused raiding people. Of course they had an underwater afterlife. The lack of pre-Christian sources is, again, a real issue about knowing more here. Sebastian the Crab claimed life was better under the sea, but he makes no mention of what being dead down there is like. Then there's the undead, the Draugr, the Hogbui, the Barrow Dwellers, and the Aptraganga, the Again Walkers, who could shapeshift, hunt you down, or just pull your arm off and beat you to death with it. We'll be covering them again, not least because I'm still wrapping my head around the various textbooks on this one. Unfortunately, Skyrim doesn't count as a source, so if we're waiting for me to understand them, that could be about a year from never. Now that that was a quick skim over the basics of what we know about the Norse afterlife. I'm still researching this topic, so expect me to put out a few more videos covering aspects such as Hel, the Undead, and the Valkyries, etc. to go deeper in. But I also wanted to take the in-depth, careful research and translation work that is being done and completely gloss over it in a 5-minute video that you're going to forget again in another 5 minutes. Because politicians have informed me that my country has had enough of listening to experts, and I'm anything but expert. Thanks for watching, please like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't. In the next video we'll be taking a look at various trickster gods in different mythologies. Loki doesn't have a monopoly on being a sneaky bugger. For more on Norse mythology, check out the video I did on the Norse creation myth, and if the afterlife of various religions is your thing, check out the video on psychopomps.